Good morning. The Rambam, today we're going to be Messiahim, Sefer Kabbanis, and start Tahira. And the last halacha is in Hilchas Kabbanis is Hilchas Tmurah. Now we're going to talk a little about a halacha that's very, very well known. It's a very sadistic point that he makes in general, and on this Rambam itself, there's an unbelievable biur of the Rebbe. However, we're not going to focus so much on the Rambam here, but on another Rambam, which is a result of that there's a problem as a result of this Rambam. Hilchas Tmurah, Perik Daled, Halacha Gimel writes, even though all the laws of the Torah, Gezeres are decrees, however, as we explained in the end of Hilchas Me'ilah, he writes there a very important thing. Ra'ui lihizboinen behem. It is worthy to contemplate and involve ourselves and think about it. Anything you can explain in a greater manner, please do that. That's what he says, basically. He tells you to go ahead and use your imagination to explain the reasoning. And he shows how Shlomo HaMelech understood most of the reasons of all the Chukei HaTorah. These are things that are fake. Shlomo understand it. And then he goes in to explain the inyan of Tmurah as being a means of controlling your desire to save money and to teach you to think. And he writes a beautiful ending. They are advice, so to speak, from on high and from far out from the great one who gives advice. L'sakein hadeyos u'liyasher kol ha'maaseh, to fix your ways of your thoughts and your midas and put you in the right path. And in Hilchas Me'ilah, Perik Ches, Halacha Ches, he also writes, Roy Lodem is ben Mishpat HaTorah Kadesha V'leida Seif and Yanan Kifi Keiche. You should know what they're all about according to your ability. And then he says, but if you don't find the reason, that's not important. Don't worry about it. And he brings out the greatness of Me'ilah there. So basic points, even though the Torah is Gezeres, can't try to find out what it try to give a reason. King Shlomo understood most of the reasons of the Chukim. You gotta work as hard as you can. Don't find one, it's okay. Shouldn't take away any value of the mitzvah. Don't think that a chayk is any less than anything else, and don't push it away because it's a chayk. You can understand, and that's the way you're zeiche to Eilam Haba. And that's the basic point. Rabbi Chelik Lamed Beis asks, based on what the Rambam writes in Perokim, that when it says, I'll say, L'yema Odom Efshi Lasses Haveir, Efshi Ma Esa Avishamai does our life. Oh, you should say, what should I do? I would like to do this thing, but I can't because God Almighty doesn't let. So he says that's in Chukim, the Rambam says, because Shalomala HaTorah Rise Cloud, without the Torah, there would be no reason not to do it. And therefore, the prevention is only because the Torah tells us. Those are famous things for by everybody, and everybody knows. They say EFC. So he says, since the Rambam says you should come up with reasons, so obviously you can end up. You should say EFC. You should say EFC here too. How do you say that the EFC? I'd like to do it. What do you mean? You have a reason not to? And he explains that there's a reason, but that reason is not your reason. It's a reason of Torah. It's a seichel ha-Torah. Mishpatim has a seichel ha'adam. This is a seichel ha-Torah. And if not in the Torah, the seichel ha'adam can agree to the idea, but the idea wouldn't have come about through us. And that's why he uses the words eitzis merachik midela. Eitza is not only to flowery expression, but he explains it that this is our reasoning that you can give, but there are eitzis that come merachik from distance, and midela eitza, and that's not human logic. And then he goes on that he goes on further in what the Rambam writes in Ma'ayin Avachim, because he's still bothered by it, and that it still doesn't. Why would we have to say? Why are we saying Efshi? Once you do get it, good. It's Torah logic, but what's the Efshi? And he goes on to explain, based on what the Rambam writes in Ma'ayin Avachim, that all mitzvahs have a reason, a good reason, a reason that helps. But he says that's the klala mitzvah, but the details of the mitzvah, all the details, that he can't. And that's what you have to say, Efshi Avamayas. You can't get even that you can't give. The difference in Mishpatim and Chukim is that Mishpatim, the klolos mitzvah, is in Yiseichel, and this whereas Chukim come from the Gedei Leitza, Eitzes Merachim, the Leitza. So, but both of them end up with Chukim because there's parts of mitzvahs that you can't get. So, and bottom line is that you got to remember both halachas are correct. The general mitzvah is possible a reason, but the details do not. And on that, and on that, there's no logic to it. Okay. Now, I would like to just step to a different halacha, where there's a problem with what he writes here, what the Rambam writes. And people talk about this. And that is in Hilchos and Hedron Perokim Ches Halacha Vav. He writes, this is talking about self-admission, Eidos Baldin, in a case of Misa and Malchus. When the Rabbi writes, "Gzeiros hakosav yishaim and Misa bezdin v'lim Malkin as Adam by Dos Bid Ella Al Pi Shnayim Eida." You don't convict a person based on his admission. Zeh shaharag Yeshua ochein the David leger Amalek. We find in the Torah, in the Via, that Yeshua killed Ochein. Now, Ochein was Mayel in Yericha, in the Kairim that Yeshua put on Yericha. And how did he know that it was him? There were no witnesses. So we'll talk about that soon. But he ended up killing him. Ochein admitted, and he killed him. And David killed the Ger Amaleki, quote, Ger Amaleki calls him. Keep that in mind. And he was the one that claimed to have killed Shaul. And they admitted themselves. So how did he go against the Xeris HaKosov? That was a temporary halacha that we have a kayach. Or did malchus, or they did it with the power of kingdom. Now, started off, remember, now he writes, why? Because perhaps he's a masochist, or a person that wants to kill himself, a person who's suicidal. And Shatakim Harav is a bit, and they kill themselves, and they throw themselves down from roofs. He wants to get killed. And then, so he just gave a reason. I have a few issues with this. First of all, if it's a Xeris HaKosov, why is he giving us a reason altogether? Well, who needs this reason here? And he already said, find reasons on your own. Why is he giving the reason? And if he gives you a reason, why does he end up with Klol Shadav Xeris Melech? So many of them kind of compare this to the halachas. He's basically just trying to help you out with finding a reason. But that's unlike the Rambam. So now, the Rebbe said in that piece that what's the reason to give a reason? Why should we look for reasons? Who cares? It's a chait. Why are we looking for a reason? So Rebbe said because by having a reason, you have a chayis and a tainug, you have more excitement in doing something when you can identify with the mitzvah and realize why it is. Okay, so that would be good everywhere, but it doesn't help here. I mean, what doesn't have to be excited about not killing him? And then, as I said, Xeris HaKosov, he starts off Xeris HaKosov, then he throws it in as a reason for out of the blue. And then he writes a whole arichas. Then he writes, he's from these type of people. And he wants to kill himself. Why does he have to go into the details of the sickness? It seems to be like doing a real psychological evaluation of this person. And then the last words. What he said already, Xeris HaKosov in the beginning. Now, the Radvaz claims that the Rambam's reasoning only fits for murder, not for malchus. Although there are people who are masochists who want punishment, who want to be hurt. And the Rosh Rambam is hard to say that he that it's only going on. And then what's the klolei shadav? Klolei shadav Xeris Melech. Because they may come up Xeris Melech. Klolei shadav. Why did he switch from Xeris HaKosov to Xeris Melech? And to note, as far as I was able to tell, there is the only time in the whole of Rambam, Sefer Yad HaChazoka, that the Rambam writes such a lashon Xeris Melech. Okay, perhaps. Again, the focus is on that halacha based on the fact that the Rambam is giving a reason in something that seems to be a chayk, which he told us here at the end of Tmurah to do. And as I said, many people want to learn that this is the Rambam is showing us the way there. But I would like to suggest something else. Let's take the two stories that Rambam injected into as a question. Yeshua killed Achan, David killed the Ger Amaleki. So he takes on a fact that they were killed because they admitted. Ain't so pashut. It's not as poshut as it sounds. The story of Achen in the Gemara Sanhedrin that Mem Gimel Amud Bey says that when Hashem told Yeshua, the Shalosh HaMakadosh Baruch Hu Yeshua, and Hashem told Yeshua, Chet Yisrael, or Chata Yisrael, the Jews sinned. So he said, who? He said, what do you think? I'm a gossiper. I'm going to tell you who. He said, go, throw a geirul and see who comes up. He threw a geirul, came out on Achen. So when he came, he approached Achen. Achen said, what, you're throwing a geirul at me? If I'll throw a geirul on you and Lazar at that time, and Lazar Kohen, two gedele out there, one of it's going to fall on one of you. So what does that tell you? So Yeshua asked them, please admit, because all of Eretz Yisrael is going to be divided by Ger, and don't make a bad name for Ger. So he admitted. So reading that Gemara, why did he kill Achen? Because it was a Ger. He just told them, he asked them to admit. Story number one. Let's go to story number two. The Ger Amaleki. First of all, not everybody learns that he was a Ger. Not so plush that he was a Ger. Could have been a Goy. Because the Mechilta, Rabbi Shmuel and Pasha the Salach says that the Eibush swore the Kisa Kovet Shaloish and Yavah Yech and the Kolum's Leilin's Gayish Yikablu Lamalik, basically Yikablu, they shouldn't accept it. So when David, this is what the Madrash and Mechilta says, the Madrash says, David said to this person, to Amaleki, where are you from? He said, I'm Gary Amaleki. So David remembered, so he can't be a Ger. Boom. That's where he was to kill him. That's when he said, I'll kill you because of what you said. And that's what the Meshech Chochmah says. In the end of Pashki say he understands from this Mechilta that he killed him because as a guy, you can kill a Hadas Atzma when you make your own admission. But so there's David and Shmuel over there in Shmuel, the story of Achen, right? Damach al Reish. That's what David told him. He said, just the fact that you said it, you have to be killed, even if it's not true. And not only that, if you're doing it, I know that there's a possibility you're doing it just to find favor in my eyes, but the fact that you said that you killed a melech, you got to be killed. So it wasn't because he admitted, because he said such things. The Gemara also doesn't seem to follow this approach. The Gemara says, and doesn't seem to believe that he killed him because of it. No, because the Gemara learns from here that from going back to Achen's admission that anybody who admits if a person is being killed and he admits to sin before he dies, he gets a kapara. So we learned from his admission that it was for the sake of kapara. Okay, so that first I want to say that even though he didn't have to, once he admitted, we see he had a kapara. Okay, that's their discussion. Now, interesting thing, the Rambam in Pirish and Mishnah Sanhedrin writes, so Dash, Arigas Yeshua Lachem Ha'isai Rasha, Fisha Teireseinu Teiras Emes, Eina Machayavas Mitzala Chayte by the Asim, like the Goyrel, like Alpi Chazai Navi, Shu Asa Isa Amais. Nothing will kill a person. Admission, Goyrel, Chazai Navi, obviously it was like Rasha. Okay, but let's go back to the Ger Amaleki. We're going back and forth. And the Ger Amaleki, the Gemara Sanhedrin says, "Bnei Banav shel Haman lamdu Torah b'Bnei Brak." So he asked, the Chida asks, Akasha, how could there be Bnei Banav shel Haman? The Gemara says that you don't accept. The Mechilta says you don't accept Gerim from Amalek. So he says, if you look at the Rambam, That one seems to make a blanket statement. Kol hagoyim kulam k'shiyas gar v'kabel and kol mitzvahs shebeter and gisro. And if he seems to be all Amalek included. And he writes that you can make Kabul game from the Zion that anybody who accepts the Zion mitzvahs, you don't kill him. So he says, obviously, doesn't fit with the Gemara. The kilt in the Gemara don't fit. And that's why the Rambam writes that it was a Rosha. Yosef Engel says that Nebon of Shalom doesn't have to mean it was from a male; it could be from a female. And they go into there are a lot of answers given to go around, but it's clear that Rambam holds he was a ger Amaleki and he killed him. So Rambam clearly holds Sai Ochen, Sai the ger Amaleki, somehow or another were killed by Rasha based on their word admission. Okay, what does it mean when a person admits? Famous sugya from the Tziyad of Gimel, big machlokes in the Achreinim, Shainim, earlier Achreinim. The Mari ben Lev, famous opinion that when somebody is negeya in edus, you can't testify against yourself because you're your own. You're a pastor. Correct. There's no better, closer person to yourself than, and a car is possible whether you say, I'm chayiv, I'm potter. And therefore a person, he says, I know the Mason not say Russia, and you can't testify against yourself. Only in Davar Shemamin, we learn it out either from a pasuk or it's considered a donation, so to speak. It's like I was schayvus, but you can't testify. It's you're possible edus on yourself. And the Rush goes even further. And Marcus writes that the rule of kol edus shebatlam miktzos batlam kula, it becomes, which the Gemara talks about Marcus the Fei, which comes about because of psul kurva when you're related, and we don't say pogin and dibur. And but he says Adam karavet samatzah ve'ei meis samatzah rasha. He says Einza edus klal el kimisha eina domi. He's like he never said anything. He's not even called a apostle. And therefore, you don't say Eid Shabbatla on a person. On a person, on his own, on himself, it's as if he never said anything. He's not here. So, how did they, when Ochen admits and Meleka admits, he didn't say anything. Give me Shainai. It's not even here. How did they kill him? It's like the guy who was babbling, according to the Rush. Okay, I don't say that I'm holding it, but we have indication that I'm holding it. So the teretz is that there's exeris hakosov, might be mixes, right? So you see that the Torah accepts Haidah. So the shaila is, when the Torah accepts a mitzvah mixes, is it a mitzad an edus the kedin, or it's a new exeris hakosov? The Torah says it again. It's not the sugya here, but you can prove that it's a din mitzad bal din, not edus, and that helps the point of the Rush. It's not that edus. It's not a shem edus. It's a schayvus. It's not a schayvus. It's a nuna monus, not a schayvus. Nuna monus of a bal din. Based on that, why isn't it everywhere? Adam never allowed to. The Torah was mechadish and the thing. Edus, he's not. But he has a new nemanis that the Torah was machadish that you do have. Okay, so the Torah says that when the Torah says Gzeirus hakosu, the Rambam says that you don't kill them or give malchus. So the Torah was mechadish that this nemanis of Baldin doesn't apply. Right? We're back to the question. If it doesn't apply, we don't hear it. It's not said. So how can you kill Och and Amaleki? They're babbling. So the answer is, the Rambam says, obviously, this is Gzeirus HaKosu, is not a pure Gzeirus HaKosu. There's a svara to the Gzeirus HaKosu. That maybe it's not, this is not Hilchas Tmurah. Rambam here is not the Tmurah de Keliten Tam. The Rambam is telling us what is this Gzeirus HaKosu, where the Gzeirus HaKosu Torah says that worry about the fact that he might be crazy, that he might be sick. Even though we never worry about people, maybe they're crazy, maybe he's sick. We don't say that. You have to prove that he's crazy. You have to prove that he's sick. No, worry about it. That's the Gzeirus HaKosu. So when we say that they kill, that's why we don't listen. Not in other words, the emes we would accept this testimony as a Baldin. The Chiddush of the Torah made it makes us. No, the Gzeirus HaKosu says you got to be chayshish that he's not the case. That's why you can't hear him. Eidus we said is kina, but he's not kimish einim. It's not Baldin. So I said you got to be chayshish for this thing. So that's why when they were able to kill Ochen and the Ger Amaleki, that they weren't they didn't have this chashash. They took it away with the Rasha. So now you believe them with the Dos Baldin. Perhaps that's why he's so meirich in describing the machlo, to show that it is not normal. It's how many people throw themselves on their swords, how many people jump off roofs. And yes, it's a chashash rochik, so it even applies to Malchus, that it's a chashash rochik that a person has this mishigas, this craziness. And that's why he ends up with klolei shaldavar. Yes, it's not logic. It's a logic that's explaining the Gzeirus HaKosu. It's telling you what the Gzeirus, together of this Gzeirus HaKosu. It's not the logic of the Gzeirus HaKosu. It is the Gzeirus HaKosu. To worry about this. The Gzeirus HaKosu goof is to worry about that the bichayshish for such a person. But perhaps that's why he switches from Gzeirus HaKosu to this rear lashon of Gzeirus Melech. He's saying Gzeirus HaKosu means there's no svara. There's not. It's not made. It's not a din with a svara. We could give svaras. That's Hilchas Tmurah. Svaras. Here he's telling you this is the Gzeirus Melech. This is what the Eibishter wants. Eibishter wants you to worry about this. And that's the change, that it's not the regular Gzeirus HaKosu. It's a new type of Gzeirus HaKosu that is based on a chashash rochuk. And that's why you can't do it. So Hilchas Tmurah is Hilchas Tmurah. We give chayis in the mitzvah, as the Rebbe explains. That's what today's this Rambam that in Hilchas Tmurah tells us. Learn, figure out an energetic svara. Then comes then Hilchas and Hedron. It's a new Gzeirus HaMelech to worry about people's mental condition when it comes to their mission on it. Anyway, Hazai Gesund, Tatzlacher Rabbi.